Hey, Mark here, and I thought I should try and keep up the blogs or vlogs a bit, because the last couple I've posted seem to have gone down reasonably well, and people have said they've enjoyed them, so I try and keep them up to date a bit more. I try and update them a bit more regularly. So yeah, there's a couple of things going on with the car. I had lower control arm on the rear suspension changed. It was very start of August, because I'd just come back to Spain with my little girl for our summer break together, and the car was in there at the time we came back. And there's obviously still a problem with that. They did something to the bottom of the suspension, but I think there's a problem with the top, because as you might know from some of my other blogs and videos, that there are a lot of speed bumps here in Spain, and I tend to notice this stuff when going over them. I don't hit them hard, as some people, when you see them drive, it's just unbelievable the speed they hit these bloody speed bumps has smashed the cars to bits. I mean, surprised, you know, when they're flying around like that they actually don't realise. But anyway, what's happening is, as I go over a bump, if I hit it a little bit hard, and a couple of times I've done it on purpose actually, just to see what the thing is. There's one there as I come out of the apartment block. There's a clonk, so it's like the suspension is overextending, and something's not right there, and it kind of tops out the suspension, and someone's S-Class just in the middle of the road there, and it goes ping, and the ABC light flashes on for a millisecond. So there's obviously something I need to get looked at there. And also, I had all these ball joints replaced on the car, and now there's something else on the front, which is kind of a bit annoying, because when I go over, you probably won't be able to hear these noises here, because they're outside the car, but it's kind of clonking again. So I don't know if it's front steering thing or front suspension, because I had a ball joint changed on the suspension not long ago. Then I had something done on another ball joint done somewhere else when I had all the tyres done. So so everyone's at the tennis club watching all the rugby again. England are playing in the World Rugby Cup final apparently today. So that's a bit annoying, because obviously, you know, it kind of pisses me off a bit that I have to keep spending money on stuff like that. And I was one of the reasons to do this video, I think, was, you know, obviously this car's 19 years old now, and I think that the reality is, you know, like I think I said in the last one, you can't kind of hold it against the car, because when a car's that old and you've had, you know, that much kind of wear and tear on the roads and stuff, then obviously it's gonna be hard on it. You know, after time, stuff's gonna go, especially rubbers and bushes and all that kind of stuff that needs replacing. They're just wear and tear parts. So one of the things that I was thinking about is, like, it's not so much the car, but actually the people who look after it. And one of the things that I get asked a lot, I don't know if you see my my comments and stuff. All right, Guardia Civil there, can't keep their eyes on the road. Got to look at the woman walking along. Typical. The thing I get asked a lot about is the car expensive to run, and do you have a lot of problems? And also, I guess another one, really sort of the same way of asking the same question, is, you know, like what it's like to actually work on. Now, I used to work on all my old cars when I was younger, but I'm in my 50s now, and to be honest with you, I just can't be fucking bothered to be laying down or bent over a bloody, you know, bonnet or something. I'd rather just pay somebody to do it. But that's the problem. It's having a good mechanic, and I think if you're going to go and buy one of these cars, you must get it checked out. The mistake I made, and I've said this before, and I should have known better, because I was in the motor trade for long enough and worked for Mercedes. I should have got this car checked out thoroughly. Truth is, I probably would not have bought this car. It was a good specification and colour combination, which I really wanted. I wanted the silver with the black interior, and it's got all the spec on it that I wanted, and some stuff having run the car for like 3.5 years now. I mean, the radar cruise control, to be honest with you, it was ahead of its time, but it's not very good when you're like the way it works. It's a bit savage. If you're coming up behind a big truck or there's a bend or something, you know, it kind of shuts it off a bit urgently, and then that almost kind of breaks your stride. So a normal cruise control would be better than that thing, the Distronic or whatever they call it. So things like the reasons I bought the car and the spec, they're not always the things that you think they're going to be, and I think sometimes actually a little bit more basic stuff is actually better. I mean, in some respects I really miss my old 500 and 560 SECs because they were quite basic cars, and in like 5 years of ownership of those cars, I think I spent £50 on one ball joint, again, fun enough, on my 500. You know, and it's like in 2 years of motoring, apart from obviously having an oil and filter change and stuff like that. So the simplicity in some respects is actually quite nice. And obviously you're never going to get a simple CL500 because that's not what this car's about at all. So the point I'm making, really, sorry if I'm rambling, is really to get a good mechanic. And not only when you've got the car, like, you know, when you're looking at buying it, so you can kind of see that, you know, the car's actually in good condition and that everything's going to be okay and it doesn't need something obvious, but also when you're looking after it. Now, one of the reasons I mention that is because where I live down here in Andalusia, I mean, you know, I'm not saying there's no good mechanics around. Obviously, you know, there's nothing wrong with the Spanish mechanics. They all know their stuff. I think it's more a case of specialising in the car, because the problem is the car's quite a special car, and if you don't understand it, listen. Oh, it didn't do that noise. It'll probably do it here if I hit this one a bit harder. Oh, it didn't ping, but I heard a clunk. But you've got to really understand the car. Now, one thing that does really annoy me with these garages, and I've said to them before, the guys who look after my car, and I'm kind of thinking, should I take it somewhere else? But they've looked after it for 3.5 years, and they're pretty good. They're a good bunch of guys. They, you know, if there's a problem, I take it there, they sort it out. They say go and take the car, and, you know, if it's all right, come back and, you know, pay for it in a few days or whatever. So it's pretty chill. They're in a little village, you know, where I live here. But I've asked them to do this. I said, just spend an hour longer. I don't mind paying, you know, 30, 40 euros, whatever it is, and just go through the car. Just have a bloody look at it and just check that what you've done has actually fixed the problem, and that it's actually, you know, going to do the job. I'm getting terrorised by a big woman on a little scooter behind me now. And that it's actually fixed the problem, like with this suspension. If they had just gone and driven the car a bit harder after they'd done the work. Oof, that's greasy, that roundabout. We had a lot of rain last night. They would have probably heard that noise and said, oh, it's actually not quite done, let's sort it out. And, you know, just taking that little bit of extra time, I find that that's really lacking here. Now, sorry if that's, you know, if I'm kind of rambling on a bit. It's, like I said, you know, there's a few things, so I need to get these done. The upshot is I need to get these done. I need to get the car into the garage again and look at it. I don't know whether to take it back to the guys that have looked after it for the last 3.5 years, or a friend of mine's taking his car to another tiny little garage that's tucked out away in the middle of bloody nowhere, but he seems to be doing a decent job on his VW. So I don't know whether to give him a go, because it's the mechanical stuff. I think the problem is when you get into the sophisticated stuff on these cars, if the guys that are looking after it don't have the star system for, you know, resetting and checking the computer and the diagnostics and stuff, they can't get to the bottom of the problems, or they can't show that they're rectified or whatever, and that's a bit of an issue. So that's, I think, with the mechanical stuff, I would be inclined to not worry too much about that. I'd rely on someone actually being a decent mechanic rather than just knowing the car, because you can kind of tell them what you need. But yeah, that's it really. Find a good mechanic and tell them to do a decent bloody job. So I've got to get whatever it is on the front clonking looked at. Hopefully it's just, you know, it might just be something loose, but, you know, why should it be? It's probably just a wear and tear part again, which I don't mind, but I could do without the expense. It's not been the best year business wise, and I've spent, you know, a couple of, well, I don't know what, 1,500 on the car this year, I think. Spent a little bit on it last year because I had a couple of other problems. Last year was a huge service, which was about 1,200. and this year I think it was about 1100 so far. It's about 40, yeah, it's about 1500 this year so far, plus I said there's still a couple of things that need sorting out. So oh, looks like my Belgian friends got Belgian visitors again. Find a good mechanic. I'll have a look at this video afterwards and see if it's worth actually uploading. Might be a bit of a ramble, but again, you know, it's just really to give people an update on the cars, because they're fine cars, you know, I do love it. I don't know what else I would change it for, to be honest with you, and not that I really want to do that anyway. So there's hopefully some more road trip videos coming up, because I want to get over to Italy with my little girl. She's telling me she wants me to take her to Portofino, so let's see what happens there. Like everything in life, it's all down to money, isn't it? Eh? Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you're well. I hope this didn't bore the pants off of you. And as always, leave a comment. And if you are a CL owner, I'd love to hear from you, see what your experiences are as such. Right, so I've got to go and do some work now. I'll see you later. All the best.